Hey guys, welcome back. Today's episode is here at my home shop, and the reason for that is because this will be the last episode featuring my little Datsun 1200 vintage race car before I blow the car apart and start prepping it for bodywork and paint. Now the car's been away, as you know, at Safe Engineering for the last 12 months, having a bunch of repairs done to the bodywork and upgrades to the cage and other things. And I've had it home for about 2 weeks now, just been doing a little bit of prep work on it already. But I just thought it'd be cool to take one last look at the car before essentially it changes forever. So here it is, out basking in the sun. It's a bit of a scorcher here today. Yeah, I've just been fitting a few final parts to it. I've had the flares, I've just brought the flares back home again. My good friend Paul Birkin was restoring these. The flare on the other side got fairly badly damaged when the car was being transported, and it needed a huge amount of repair work. But it was important to me that these were saved because they've been on the car since about 1976. And they're just super rare. They are original items from Datsun's competition parts catalogue, and I can't just go and get replacements because they don't make them anymore. So yeah, so the nose is sitting a little bit high. Naturally, it doesn't have a motor in it at the moment. One of the items I purchased for it was a replacement hood, just because the fiberglass hood that was with the car was so badly damaged from when it was crashed in 2006 that it was really beyond repair, and so I picked up a replacement hood, and it's actually a really nice piece, nice piece too. So take a quick look inside. So one of the features, one of the modifications that Nick Stewart at Safe Engineering did was to build this dashboard layout, which replicates the original dash layout that the car had when Ron Leonard raced it back from 1975 through to 1981. It just had a sort of an alloy, sort of a instrument pod in the car when I purchased it, but I wanted to get it back to how Ron raced the car because that's the livery that we're going back to as well. So it's going to be blue on the top and silver along the bottom. The inside, the interior, the underside, inside the engine bay, and inside the trunk will all be satin black. One of the changes that I've made to the car are the wheels. SCCA C Sedan regulations allowed wheels up to 6 inches wide, but these are actually 8 inches wide. So I'm essentially going to be prepping the car as an FIA Group 2 race car, which is what the SCCA Sedan regulations were originally based on. They were based on FIA Group 2 regs, but then the SCCA started tweaking them from about 1968 onwards. I'm running slightly wider wheels, although the actual space that they fill isn't a whole lot different to when it ran the sixes, because when I received the car, it had about 1.5 inches, or at least an inch, of spacers which were pushing the wheels out. So yeah, these little fat wheels fill the fenders quite nicely, and the rear fenders, the rear fender flares, I'll just show you around the other side here as well. I'm just having them sitting in place. I've got quite a bit of prep work to do inside the inner wheel wells, so I just wanted to check them for clearance and everything. I might have to trim them away just a little bit because they're quite close to the tyre. But this is the side that Paul Birkin repaired for me, and man, this thing was just munched. I assume a forklift or something ran into it because yeah, it happened when the car was being transported, and yeah, it was pretty munched up. And so yeah, man, the guy is a wizard. He's completely restored that, and it's almost as good as new. So yeah, there'll be a bit of final prep and a little bit more filler and everything to add to that, and it'll be good to go. Passenger side door is still at Nick Stewart's place. I had to get 2 replacement doors because the car only came with a couple of door skins, and I wanted to run full doors, which is the way that Ron Leonard raced the car. And so yeah, the passenger side door had some rust that Nick is repairing at the moment for me. So yeah, just a nice look inside here. So yeah, pretty basic instrument layout. We've got oil pressure, oil temperature and water temperature gauges, and there will be a TAC rev counter sitting on top of the dash. But yeah, that's about it really. My little switch box will be down here. It used to be that the switch box was mounted on the dashboard, but one of the later owners fitted this new switch box, which is down next to the driver, which is actually better for me because my seat is set quite far back. So yeah, that works out pretty good for me. Now the steering wheel that came with the car is this little Formule France piece, neat little French steering wheel made by a company that's no longer in business. It's quite small, but it's really chunky and it's quite cool. But the trouble is it was damaged when the car crashed in 2016. It's actually bent, so I can't use it. But that gave me the opportunity to seek out and purchase this. So this is a Raid steering wheel. It's Italian, and these Raid wheels were really popular with SCCA races in the United States during the 1970s, and a lot of these vintage Datsuns actually ran one of these wheels. So I actually bought this one from a guy in Ukraine. So yeah, I love this thing. It's just beautiful. It's in really nice condition, given that it's probably 40 odd years old. And yeah, it's quite a big wheel. It's about 360 mil in diameter. I don't know what that is in inches, but probably about 14 inches, I guess. But yeah, because I've got the fat wheels on the front, the steering's going to be a bit heavier, so that's probably not a bad thing. When Ron Leonard raced this car through to 1981, he customised his rocker cover, and I wanted to replicate that. I just thought it'd be a cool detail. So his original rocker cover featured, it was sprayed in satin black crackle paint. Then it had the embossed rectangle background behind the Datsun lettering, painted red, and then the Datsun lettering itself was basically polished metal. And so yeah, I sort of took me a couple of days to achieve this, but yeah, I wanted to replicate the rocker cover that he ran on the car. I just thought that'd be a nice little detail. I'm just trying to remember all the work that Nick Stewart at Safe Engineering carried out on this car over the last year. It was a fairly extensive list, and it just kept going and going because we just found so many issues with the car that needed fixing. But essentially, and I'm sure I'll forget some stuff here, but yeah, he replaced the lower front valance. He did a whole lot of repair work on the inner front fenders. He did a whole lot of fabrication work just in the nose here, because previously the radiator support panel wasn't actually connected to the lower valance. Obviously, the car's been blasted and primered in the engine bay and underneath. Fitted the doors, obviously. Modified the driver's door to allow for the roll cage, which extends into the driver's door. He fabricated the new driver side intrusion bars. He modified the existing pedal box, which is quite important to me because I wanted to keep this pedal box. It's part of the car's history, obviously, but it's finding a replacement pedal box for a Datsun 1200 is quite a challenge too, because the pedals themselves straddle the steering shaft, or the steering column. He fabricated a new steering column bracket. He modified the dashboard to replicate that as used by Ron Leonard back in this car originally. He made all the brackets and the mounts to fit the seat. He did a whole lot of repair work to both rocker panels. The passenger side rocker panel in particular was really in bad shape. It was quite badly bent. These little join swage piece here along here that had all been flattened down just from being jacked up and down a million times over the years. He managed to restore all those. He fabricated and installed new floor pans. The car had been fitted at one point with covers, fiberglass covers that went over the rear quarters, and those were held in place with sort of Zeus fastener type things, and so he's filled all the holes that were created for those. There's also a hole in the roof which he filled. What else? There's a bunch more. The rear roll cage structure, basically everything behind the B section, or the B pillar section of the roll cage is all new, but it basically replicates what was originally there. So New Zealand regulations don't allow the roll cage to extend beyond the rear axle line. He fabricated these beautiful new inner tubs, or rear wheel tubs. In fact, when we pulled the car down, we found that when the rear quarters, or the rear fender openings had been radiused out, the outer sheet metal didn't actually connect with the inner tubs anymore. So there's a bit of strength being lost there. So yeah, he fabricated these beautiful tubs here, so that's all joined together now. That's all really strong. Obviously, oh, that's right. He fabricated this beautiful boxing here to house the big H190 rear end. He did a whole lot of repair work throughout. There's a reasonable amount of rust in the car, especially underneath, under the rear cross member. He fabricated this beautiful new trunk floor pan, all bead rolled there, and made repairs to the right rear quarter, which had been damaged. It was full of putty, and also the rear lower valance had also been damaged, and that was also just full of bog. It was it was quite thick in some places. So he's restored all that, pulled it all out, straightened it all up, done quite a lot of work underneath here as well, including fabricating these new rear spring shackles. So yeah, the car was gone for a year. It was at Nick's place for a year. But wow, the work that he's carried out on it has just completely transformed it. And although it looks the same because it's got the same old paint job on it, it is really it's a completely transformed car. It's stronger, and it's safer, and it'll be a better and faster car as a result. So yeah, I just couldn't be happier.